the floor where they drop like bombs. Faceless voices running all the cons. Digital whispers in the binary night. No light, no face, pure sound, no sight. Stories unfold in the dark, unscrolled. Echoes of silence, secrets untold. Waves crash loud in this audio cave. No mic, no fame, just the sound we crave. Tune and turn up, let the silence break. Raw, unfiltered, hear the earthquake. No mic needed, just a vibe that's real. Faceless words you can touch and feel. In shadows, voices untamed. No need for spotlight, no claim to fame. Just a beat of life in a stream of thought. Every word a punchline, no need to be taught. Just listen close, no visuals needed. Raw conversation, unprocessed, unseated. Feel the pulse in every sentence said. No distractions, just thoughts in your head. Whispers of the streets, rumbling through. Faceless yet vivid, a world in view. No mic, just souls, connecting in flow. Pure and raw, let the rhythm go.
I am somewhat uncertain whether there is a definite factual question as to whether natural language handles truth-value gaps. Nor am I even quite sure that there is a definite question of fact as to whether natural language should be evaluated by the minimal fixed point or another, given the choice of a scheme for handling gaps. We are not at the moment searching for the correct scheme. Saul Kripke. Saul Kripke, a figure whose intellectual breadth spanned the rigorous world of logic and the nuanced complexities of language, once mused, I am somewhat uncertain whether there is a definite factual question as to whether natural language handles truth-value gaps. Nor am I even quite sure that there is a definite question of fact as to whether natural language should be evaluated by the minimal fixed point or another, given the choice of a scheme for handling gaps. We are not at the moment searching for the correct scheme. This statement, seemingly a moment of philosophical self-reflection, hints at the profound depth and precise analytical approach Kripke brought to the very foundations of how we understand meaning and truth. He is, indeed, renowned in philosophy, particularly for his groundbreaking work on names, necessity, and the philosophy of language, most notably articulated in his seminal book Naming and Necessity, originally delivered as lectures in 1970 and published in 1980. Saul Kripke, a name synonymous with profound insights in logic and philosophy, displayed an astonishing intellect from his earliest years. Born in 1940 in Bayshore, New York, he later moved to Omaha, Nebraska, where his father served as a rabbi and his mother was a teacher and author. This home environment undoubtedly fostered his incredible intellectual curiosity. Even as a young child, Kripke's brilliance was undeniable. By the tender age of 6, he had already embarked on learning ancient Hebrew, a feat most adults would find daunting. Just 3 years later, at 9 years old, he had immersed himself in the complete works of William Shakespeare, demonstrating an early and deep engagement with classic literature. What's more, before he even finished elementary school, he was already tackling the complex philosophical treatises of René Descartes and grappling with advanced mathematical problems, showcasing an astonishing breadth of early intellectual development. His remarkable abilities continued to blossom during his high school years in Omaha. It was during this time that Kripke began to make significant contributions to the field of modal logic. At merely 15 years old, he independently developed a groundbreaking semantics for quantified modal logic. This early work culminated in the publication of a seminal paper, a completeness theorem for modal logic, in the Journal of Symbolic Logic in 1959. This was an extraordinary achievement, particularly given he was only 18 and still a freshman at Harvard University at the time of its publication. Kripke's academic journey at Harvard further underscored his exceptional talent. He graduated summa cum laude in 1962 with a Bachelor of Science degree in mathematics, which would be his only non-honorary degree. In an almost unprecedented move, during his sophomore year at Harvard, he was already teaching a graduate-level logic course at the Massachusetts Institute of Technology (MIT). After graduating, he was awarded a prestigious Fulbright Fellowship and appointed to the Harvard Society of Fellows in 1963. Semantical Considerations on Modal Logic, Acta Philosophica Phoenica. Building on his earlier work, this paper further elaborated on the technical aspects of modal logic and their broader implications, extending his development of Kripke semantics. Semantical Analysis of Modal Logic I, Normal Modal Propositional Calculi, Mathematical Logic Quarterly. Another crucial paper from this period, continuing his work on the formal semantics of modal logic. Semantical Analysis of Intuitionistic Logic I, Studies in Logic and the Foundations of Mathematics. Kripke adapted his relational semantics to intuitionistic logic, further demonstrating the power and versatility of his semantic approach beyond modal logic. He continued to lecture at Harvard until 1968, solidifying his reputation as a formidable intellectual force even before his most famous philosophical works were widely published. Kripke's early life thus paints a vivid picture of a true prodigy, whose unparalleled intellectual precocity laid the foundation for his revolutionary impact on 20th-century philosophy and logic. Saul Kripke embarked on a prolific period that would solidify his legacy as one of the 20th century's most influential philosophers. After his time lecturing at Harvard, he moved to Rockefeller University in 1968, where he served as a professor until 1976. This period was crucial, as it was during these years that he delivered the groundbreaking Naming and Necessity lectures. These lectures, given at Princeton University in January 1970, were initially published in 1972 and then expanded into a full book in 1980. This work dramatically reshaped the philosophy of language and metaphysics, challenging long-held assumptions about how names refer and the nature of necessity. He introduced the concept of rigid designators, arguing that proper names and natural kind terms refer directly to the same object or kind across all possible worlds, rather than being mere descriptions. This idea overturned the then dominant descriptivist theories of reference and laid the groundwork for the causal theory of reference, suggesting that the meaning of a name is tied to its historical use, stemming from an initial baptism or naming event. Kripke's Theory of Truth, How his work in Outline of a Theory of Truth 1975 addressed these issues by constructing a hierarchy of truth predicates and defining truth as the minimal fixed point of a certain operator, thus avoiding paradoxes without assigning arbitrary truth values. In 1976, Kripke took up a professorship at Princeton University, a position he held until his retirement in 2001. During his tenure at Princeton, he continued to be a towering figure in philosophy, though he famously published relatively little in book form compared to the extensive influence of his lectures and papers. Speaker's Reference and Semantic Reference, Midwest Studies in Philosophy. This paper delves into the distinction between what a speaker intends to refer to speaker's reference and what a linguistic expression actually refers to by convention semantic reference. A Puzzle About Belief, Meaning and Use, papers presented at the Second Jerusalem Philosophical Encounter. This paper presents a famous puzzle concerning the logic of belief attribution, specifically focusing on how belief sentences behave when names with different senses but the same referent are involved. Naming and Necessity. This is the expanded book version of his 1972 lectures, with additions and clarifications, which became one of the most widely cited and influential philosophical works of the 20th century. His work on Wittgenstein's philosophical investigations, particularly his interpretation of the rule-following paradox, resulted in another highly influential book, Wittgenstein on Rules and Private Language 1982. In this work, he presented what came to be known as Kripkenstein, an interpretation that posited a skeptical challenge to the notion of rule following, suggesting that there might be no objective facts determining what it means to follow a rule correctly. This controversial interpretation sparked immense debate and generated an entire field of scholarship. Even after retiring from Princeton, Kripke remained an active and revered presence in the philosophical community. He became a distinguished professor of philosophy at the CUNY Graduate Center in 2002, continuing to teach and engage with new generations of scholars. His intellectual curiosity never waned, and he continued to explore new areas and refine his ideas. Throughout his career, Kripke received numerous accolades and honors, including the Rolf Skok Prize in Logic and Philosophy in 2001, often considered the philosophical equivalent of the Nobel Prize, acknowledging his transformative impact on the field. His work fundamentally altered how philosophers think about language, mind, and reality, leaving an indelible mark that continues to shape philosophical inquiry today. Philosophical Troubles, Collected Papers, Volume 1. This volume collects a number of Kripke's important papers, including some previously unpublished material, providing a valuable resource for understanding the breadth and depth of his thought. Reference and Existence, The John Locke Lectures. Based on lectures he delivered in 1986, this book further explores themes related to reference, existence, and the nature of objects, offering more insights into his views on metaphysics and the philosophy of language. Saul Kripke, the luminary philosopher and logician, passed away on September 15, 2022, at the age of 81 in Plainsboro, New Jersey, due to pancreatic cancer. His death marked the end of an era for analytic philosophy, as he had been a central and transformative figure since the 1960s. Though physically gone, Kripke's revolutionary ideas on language, necessity, and the nature of reality continue to profoundly shape contemporary philosophical thought and inquiry. Let's call something a rigid designator if in every possible world it designates the same object, a non-rigid or accidental designator if that is not the case. Of course, we don't require that the objects exist in all possible worlds. When we think of a property as essential to an object, we usually mean that it is true of that object in any case where it would have existed. A rigid designator of a necessary existent can be called strongly rigid. Saul Kripke. References. Cumming, Sam. March 19, 2013. Names. Inzalta, Edward N. ed. The Stanford Encyclopedia of Philosophy Fall 2016 ed. Metaphysics Research Lab, Stanford University. Palmquist, Stephen. December 1987. A Priori Knowledge in Perspective, to Naming, Necessity and the Analytic a Posteriori. The Review of Metaphysics. 41 255-282. George Nordhoff, Minding the Brain, A Guide to Philosophy and Neuroscience, Palgrave, p. 51. Michael Giudice, Understanding the Nature of Law, A Case for Constructive Conceptual Explanation, Edward Elgar Publishing, 2015, p. 92. Saul Kripke 1986. Rigid Designation and the Contingent a Priori, The Meter Stick Revisited Notre Dame. Jerry Fodor, Water Everywhere, London Review of Books, October 21, 2004. Quine vs. Kripke on the Metaphysics of Modality. What the Tortoise Said to Kripke by Romina Pedro. Kripke, Saul 2011. Philosophical Troubles, Collected Papers Volume 1. Oxford, Oxford University Press. Pages 12. ISBN 978-0-19-973015-5. Charles McGrath, January 28, 2006. Philosopher, 65, Lectures Not About What Am I But What Is I. The New York Times. Retrieved January 23, 2008. A Companion to Analytic Philosophy, Blackwell Companions to Philosophy, by A. P. Martinich, editor, E. David Sosa, editor, 38. Saul Kripke, 1940. McGrath, Charles, January 28, 2006. Philosopher, 65, Lectures Not About What Am I But What Is I. The New York Times. Kungl. Vetenskaps Akademien. Archived from the original on January 8, 2018. Retrieved January 7, 2018. Roberts, Sam, September 21, 2022. Saul Kripke, philosopher who found truths in semantics, dies at 81. The New York Times. Kripke, Saul A. March 1959. A Completeness Theorem in Modal Logic. Journal of Symbolic Logic. 24 1-14. doi 10.230729645688. JSTOR 2964568. S2 SID 443000271. Carlson, Tim, February 1986. Modal Logics with Several Operators and Provability Interpretations. Israel Journal of Mathematics. 54 1-14-24. doi 10.1007 BF02764872. MR085-2465. S2 SID 120461106. Fludernik, Monica. Histories of Narrative Theory, From Structuralism to Present. A Companion to Narrative Theory. Ed Felon and Rabinovitz. Blackwell Publishing, Ma 2005. Smith, Quinton, August 2, 2001. Marcus, Kripke, and the Origin of the New Theory of Reference. Synthes. 104 179-189. doi 10.1007 BF01063869. S2 SID 44151212. Archived from the original on June 10, 2007. Retrieved May 28, 2007. Stephen Neal, February 9, 2001. No Plagiarism Here PDF. Times Literary Supplement. 104 12-13. doi 10.1007 BF01063869. S2 SID 44151212. Archived from the original. PDF on July 14, 2010. Retrieved November 13, 2009. John Burgess, Marcus, Kripke, and Names Philosophical Studies, 84, 1, pages 1-47. Stern, David G. 2006. Wittgenstein's Philosophical Investigations, An Introduction. Cambridge University Press. p. 2. Saul Kripke Center website. Many of these recordings and lecture notes were created by Nathan Salmon while he was a student and then a colleague of Kripke's, and were later gifted to the CUNY Graduate Center. Crimmins, Mark, October 30, 2013. Review of Philosophical Troubles, Collected Papers, Volume 1. Notre Dame Philosophical Reviews. Davies, Alex. November 13, 2019. Big Bang Theory, who is Barry Kripke really named after real-life inspiration revealed. Express.co.uk retrieved January 23, 2022.
Mics on the floor where they drop like bombs. Faceless voices running all the cons. Digital whispers in a binary night. No light, no face, pure sound, no sight. Stories unfold in the dark unscrolled. Echoes of silence, secrets untold. Waves crash loud in this audio cave. No light, no fame, just the sound we crave. Tune in, turn up, let the silence break. Raw, unfiltered, hear the earthquake. No mic needed, just the vibe that's real. Faceless words you can touch and feel. Hidden in shadows, voices untamed. No need for spotlight, no claim to fame. Just a beat of life in a stream of thought. Every word a punchline, no need to be taught. Just listen close, no visuals needed. Raw conversation, unprocessed, unseated. Feel the pulse in every sentence said. No distractions, just thoughts in your head. Whispers of the streets, rumbling through. Faceless yet vivid, a world in view. No mic, just souls, connecting in flow. Pure and raw, let the rhythm go. Pure and raw. Pure and raw. Silence break, raw, unfiltered, hear the earthquake. No mic needed, just the vibe that's real. Faceless words you can touch and feel. Tune in, turn up, let the silence break. Raw, unfiltered, hear the earthquake. No mic needed, just the vibe that's real. Faceless words you can touch and feel. Pure and raw.
Okay.